Welcome to A Warm Embrace, where we believe in the transformative power of touching lives and embracing communities through the power of captivating stories. Sit back, relax, and immerse yourself in the warmth of the Warm Embrace podcast.
Good day, Guillermo. How are you?
I'm doing well, John. How are you? Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
So we will talk to your audience right now. What is Farming Base, your podcast is all about?
Well, Warm Embrace resulted from my signature move. I think that there's nothing more comforting for a human than a warm touch and a warm embrace. And the idea behind all of that is I wanted my podcast to be able to create an experience or a feeling of a warm and gentle hug. And so the idea of the podcast is to have my listeners, my followers, my friends, my family to be able to feel that they are seen, heard, and most importantly, loved.
I have here also sets of questions will help our future audience to understand more about your goals in podcasting and in social media, of course. How did you discover your passions for motivational speaking and podcasting, and what inspired you to merge the two?
Well, first and foremost, I always remember this one movie that I saw when I was younger. I don't know how famous or how distributed worldwide it was, but it was called Shall We Dance? And I believe it began in Asia, but then it was readapted to the United States when I first saw it. And in this particular movie, not to go into the whole plot of the movie, but there is one scene that always struck out. And this particular scene was one character asks another character. She asks him, "Why do you think people get married?" And of course, the other character, taken aback, thinking about the question, he begins to answer what we would consider the most obvious answers. If he went, "Oh, of course, for love, because it was the natural progression of a relationship," and so on and so forth. And she quickly corrected him and told him, "No, the reason that people get married is because they are needing and wanting somebody to share and witness their life." And that always stuck with me. The reason being is that we all are deserving of witnesses for our lives. And I think that was the impetus for me to want to go ahead and share that message. I've always been a person that wants to be inclusive, and I want to go ahead and not allow people to feel as if they're alone in this world. Because I mean, this world is huge. We have how many people populating this giant orb that's sailing through space, and how many people despite that feel so alone. And so the idea of the warm embrace and the podcast is to be able to create an environment, an ecosystem, if you will, where we all serve as witnesses to each other's lives, where we all inspire each other to share our stories, where we all are sounding boards for our triumphs and also for our defeats. And it's one of these situations where we want to go ahead and feel that we are not alone in this world. And that's really where the idea for the message came about, both on the podcast and on the social media aspect.
That is great, Guillermo. And
Thank
as a
you.
motivational speaker and a podcaster at the same time, how do you ensure that your message resonates with your audience on a deep and emotional level?
Well, first and foremost, I want to be there to listen. I mean, it sounds counterintuitive, but I, as a motivational speaker, want to listen. But the truth of the matter is that you can't speak without truly listening. There is no message if the audience can't relate to it. And if I'm only one to just go ahead and speak without true emotion and without listening to what my audience needs, then I wouldn't be doing I wouldn't be doing my job. And I don't like saying the word job because it's my calling, but the idea is that I wouldn't be doing my audience, my followers, my family, any service if I only speak. Of course, I want to go ahead and give off a message where I am one that I want to go ahead and witness their lives, but I wouldn't be able to do that. And it wouldn't be truly genuine if I didn't listen to what they had to say and meeting each and every one of my listeners where they are. Because at the end of the day, it would be unfair, doing them a disservice, rather, if I just spoke to them and didn't meet them where they were or where they are at that point.
What are some of the key themes or messages that you consistently incorporate into your podcast to bring about positive change in people's lives?
Well, first and foremost, it's love. I mean, at the end of the day, we can't move forward without love. Not the romantic love. It's not necessarily the familial love. It's not the godly love. It's a universal love where we are one on this world, where we are one in this life. And it's the one that I want to go ahead and tell my family that, you know what, despite the fact that you and I may be in different places, despite the fact that you and I may be experiencing different situations, despite the fact that we may have different or disparate triumphs and setbacks, we know what it's like. We know what it's like to live in each other's shoes. And I think that sometimes that's often forgotten because we seem to think that somebody is so far removed from us that they can't really understand. But empathy is real. And the reason that empathy is real is because we have all, no matter how put together your life may be, we have all experienced something. And we have all experienced heartache. We've all experienced joy. We've all experienced sadness. We've all experienced depression, whether it's extreme and chronic or moments of acute depression. But the truth of the matter is we've all been there. And because somebody has been able to move forward, somebody has been able to surpass it, somebody has been able to ride the wave, we can all benefit from that experience and show fellow human being, our fellow man and woman, the love and care that we all so desperately clamor for rather. And it all begins with ourselves and how we can go ahead and pay that forward.
It is really nice, Guillermo. And
Thank
how
you.
will you balance the responsibility of touching lives through your podcast with the need to address the challenging or sensitive topics that might be difficult for some future listeners?
It all begins with sensitivity. And most importantly, we are human and we need to go ahead and understand where we all are at any given moment. And I understand that, of course, there are some sensitive and controversial subjects that not everybody agrees. And John F. Kennedy once said, we can please all of the people some of the time. We can please some of the people all of the time, but we can never please all of the people all of the time. And I understand that my desire is one that I would like to go ahead and be able to touch the lives of the globe or as many lives on this earth that I can. But I also need to understand that I may not necessarily get through to 1, 2, or 100 or 1,000. And that's all right. Because at the end of the day, they may not be where they need to be. They may not be in a space where the message can be delivered in godly way as possible, if you will. And I don't, and not to pretend for me to say that I'm God in as loving a way as possible, because sometimes people are not ready to hear it. And if they're not ready to hear it, then I need to go ahead and be respectful. And that's where also the concept of permission comes from, because we move forward with permission. I can't delude myself to think that I am the world's savior unless I am permitted to actually engage, unless I am allowed to give an opinion in the lives of another, into the lives of to the life of another. And that's where respect begins. And I need to go ahead and respect my fellow human being. If I needed to go ahead and condense it to that one word, it's humanity. Because we're all on this earth together, and there's a reason for that. And we need to be very respectful and loving on that.
We'll take this opportunity to congratulate you, Guillermo, for having 11,000 followers in Facebook.
I'm actually very surprised. That's something that I never thought would grow so quickly. Of course, I need to thank my team, whom I could not do without. And sometimes I am in awe. To be perfectly honest with you, John, I was surprised when I reached the first 100. I was ecstatic about the first 100. And now to think that there are 11,000 people on this earth who are interested in what I have to say and in the message that I have to relay. It's humbling. It truly is humbling, because I'm going to be vulnerable here, and I think that's where truth lies. I didn't think that 11,000 people would be interested in hearing what I had to say. I didn't think 100 people would be interested in what I had to say, let alone 11,000. But I am excited. I am beyond grateful. And it gives me a moment of introspection to know that I just need to keep moving forward. And there are many more lives that I can touch, and I'm excited about that. So thank you. Thank you very much, John. It really is about the people that I'm interacting with. I mean, my message is resonating with them. They deserve just as much of the credit, because they're being receptive.
What is your vision for this podcast and your brand, Guillermo, that word?
The vision for the podcast is really being able to talk. And when I say to talk, it really is to communicate what we all may be feeling at any given moment. I see a future where it's going to be a dialogue. It's going to be a dialogue between myself and another speaker, between myself and a person who just wants to learn or teach, because at the end of the day, I'm just as much of a student of the world as any. In any opportunity to learn from my fellow man, I would go ahead and welcome it. With this podcast, it's truly the idea of creating the ecosystem of witnesses. And with the podcast, we are growing our efforts, and with that effort is the whole concept of what we've started as a share circle, the Guillermo World Share Circle. And what that share circle does is that it's intended every second Saturday of the month. We come together in a virtual space from all sections of the globe, and we come together and we dialogue and we speak about what's really going on in our lives at that moment. And the idea is to let that multiply, is to go in and have these beautiful share circles all around the world where people are coming together, and it's a safe space for them to be able to share what it is that they're going through, or what it is that they learned. And so that's on the podcast side. And then, but you also asked, it said, what's my vision for Guillermo World? And Guillermo World, the vision is in the name. It's the .world part, because one thing that I've learned post pandemic, and it was actually prompted during the pandemic, is the fact that the world is so small. And I love that thought. That I'm today, right now, sitting here in Miami, and I'm speaking to you, John, in Cebu City in the Philippines. And I love that, because at the end of the day, before 20 years ago, that was just beginning. I mean, I remember when I was growing up, the whole concept of long distance calls, and you would hear, oh, do you know how much 1 minute to France costs? Do you know, my family was also from El Salvador. Do you know how much a minute to El Salvador costs? And it was just really that concept. And now how amazing that we can just be on the internet and be conversing like this, and understand that the world is truly our playground, and that I am no longer, or we rather are no longer, limited to geographical line. I'm not limited to being to Miami. I'm not limited to Florida. I'm not limited to the southeast corridor of the United States. I'm not limited to the United States. I'm not limited to North America or the Western Hemisphere. I can connect with all the countries in the world, and that excites me. I see Guillermo World truly living to its name in the world part, to really have a global connection and a global presence. So that truly is the vision, and that's exciting.
Wow, that is great, Guillermo. And for the last thing, we would like you to invite our future audience to follow our pages and listen to your podcast.
Yes, please do. Hope my message and our message resonates with you. And if it does, please follow. We're active on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, formerly known as Twitter, and also YouTube. And we're available. And our podcast is going to be present on all podcast platforms. And we'll be including the links in the caption. And we hope that you will join us, because at the end of the day, this ecosystem is only as powerful as the people who join. I'm not one to think that I'm the one that's making it powerful. I'm not delusional or deluded to think that, because it's only as powerful, and it will only be as positive and grow as much as the people who join and actively participate. I welcome everybody to the Guillermo World, and until the next time I see you, I send you a true warm embrace. I hope that I can give that to you in person one day. But the truth of the matter is that one of the things that I still do in my life on a near daily basis, I don't want to say a daily basis, but on a near daily basis, is that I give myself a hug. And that one hug is one word. Like, I feel very strong and very warm of myself and loving of myself. And therefore, I can only send that out to you, John, and to the rest of our listeners and viewers. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Guillermo, for your time and for creating a podcast that will help everyone to be heard and to be loved and to be embraced by you.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And everybody else who's listening, please join us. And I can't wait to meet you, to get to know you, and to see you, to hear you, and above all, to love you.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting us by liking and subscribing to our channel. Your small gesture means the world to us and helps us continue creating more content like this. See you in the next video.